Texas has game day coming to DKR, and it's a huge recruiting weekend, and we have to talk about it. But before we do that, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments below. Where do you guys think Texas is going to land in the 2023 recruiting cycle? And can they beat the TCU Horned Frogs, who are currently undefeated, looking at a potential college football playoff berth? Okay, so yesterday we heard the news that kind of took the college football nation by storm in a week that should be dominated by election headlines. But instead, you see Twitter blowing up about the decommitment of Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas A&M, and you see the rumors of circulation of Colton, Vasek potentially on the verge of decommitting from the University of Oklahoma and flipping that commitment to the University of Texas. Now, I say potentially because it hasn't happened yet, right? So until it happens, we can make all the speculations, we can believe everything we want. So even though I believe it's going to happen, you believe it's going to happen, I have to say potentially until it actually happens. So here's the deal. Texas this week has game day coming to DKR, and listen, it's a big weekend for them. Not only on the recruiting front, but just in terms of what this season could mean for Texas fans and the Texas Longhorns going into the future. You have an opportunity to move to 7-3, put yourself in prime position to be able to go play in a Big 12 championship game, or you can move to 6-4 and run yourself out of the Big 12 race. Right now, you're currently sitting at second in the Big 12 in front of Baylor and Kansas State. You are 4-2 in the conference. So if you lose this game, there is a reason to believe that you're probably not getting back in this race. And you would wonder what the Texas season is going to look like as they have to go to Lawrence, Kansas next week, and then come back and play Baylor at home, where Baylor's really starting to catch their stride. And we saw it against Oklahoma. They were able to create 3 turnovers against a quarterback that has not thrown a lot of turnovers this season. And they were able to come out victorious, 38-35, without their main running back, Richard Reese, who is out with the flu. But let's talk about what this game means for Texas, especially on the recruiting front, because Texas has a big recruiting weekend. And we got to start off with the first player on this list, who I personally haven't been paying a lot of attention to because he's been out of the Oklahoma race, and it looks like he's been more favored to go to USC or Georgia. But that is the 5-star tight end, Deuce Robinson. Now, I said it. I believe he's more favored to go to Texas or to USC and Georgia. Right now, I think he's got a crystal ball in to go to USC, join Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams out there. He did hang out with Caleb Williams during the Elite 11 camp. He was out there doing things like that. And so you would expect Deuce Robinson to join them out there, as it seems like his relationships are pretty good. However, when they were supposed to host him in September when they played Alabama, that got canceled, and that fell by the wayside. For Texas to be able to flip a commitment, or I guess not really flip, but to gain a commitment from Deuce Robinson at the tight end position would be huge, because Texas's tight end room right now is already pretty strong. And then to add a 5-star tight end to that room, Texas would be able to pretty much not only be able to do whatever they wanted on the outside receiving part of the passing game, but when it comes to a tight end play, you could do pretty much whatever you want, just like Georgia does. And so this is pretty big for Texas. You land somebody who a lot of people don't think you're going to be able to land, flip them, really helps out Arch Manning and that offense for years to come. The other person that we've got up on the 5-star front is the safety Peyton Bowen. Now, I think this one's not likely at all. I don't think Texas really has a shot here, just as I don't think really Oklahoma has a good shot here anymore. I think Notre Dame has got Peyton Bowen on lock. I don't think Peyton Bowen is flipping. If he does flip, I think it's more so to come play with Jackson Arnold at the University of Oklahoma. I don't think Texas has too big of a thing here. I think it's more so just, hey, to get a visit in there. We've seen Peyton Bowen take many, many visits all over the country to all these different schools. Shoot, he's been to Oklahoma at least 5 times, I think, at least 5 or 6 times. So I don't think Peyton Bowen flips, but it is a big deal, I guess, to have him on campus. And then we have the 5-star linebacker, number 1 linebacker in the country, who just recently decommitted from Texas A&M, Anthony Hill. A lot of people believe that this is it. A lot of people believe that he's coming to Texas. Now, a lot of people thought this was going to be later in the cycle, maybe on National Signing Day. So this kind of hit a lot of people off guard. I know I didn't expect Anthony Hill to decommit yesterday. So there's a lot of rumors circulating here to, hey, what's going to happen? Again, as I said in yesterday's video, don't be surprised about an LSU or a Miami or, even Oklahoma. Oklahoma wasn't his top 6. Now, I think Oklahoma is a pipe dream, few and far between. I think LSU and Miami are much better looks here. But don't be shocked if LSU or Miami come in here in the last moment and potentially swoop in on his commitment. Now, when we look at their 4 stars, Texas has a huge 4-star recruiting weekend, starting with the wide receiver Deandre Moore Jr., who is currently committed to Louisville. But listen, there is a lot of talks about how he's still interacting with the players that are currently there, players that are currently in the 2023 class, the coaches. It almost sounds like he's got the silent commit there. Deandre Moore Jr. is someone to watch. That was originally somebody that was committed to Oklahoma. You've got the 4-star defensive lineman Markis Deal. This was a recruitment that OU was in. OU has kind of fell out of it. You believe that this one was down between TCU and Texas. This would be a huge win for the University of Texas. If there was any other school outside of those two that I think really could get on this commitment is Georgia, but it just depends if Markis Deal actually wants to leave the state of Texas. Then you have the 4-star athlete Jelani McDonald. Now, Jelani McDonald, I believe he is currently committed to Oklahoma State. Listen, this is another one. This is an op. This is where you feel like Texas should be able to go in and get this guy. He's been recently offered by TCU. So with TCU's success, this could be another battle for Texas. Here's my deal. Texas, this is a really big recruiting weekend for you, but this is also a really big recruiting weekend for TCU because TCU can go into DKR and really make a statement to the recruits that are on your campus by coming in and beating you on prime time, on game day. And listen, they're in at least 2 or 3 of your battles. So then we look at the 4-star defensive lineman, Justin Benton. Now, I don't know a whole lot much about this guy, but he is a West Virginia commit. I know that there are a couple people that currently have him crystal balled for Georgia, so I don't know if that was more of a flip or if that was something that was previously done before he committed to West Virginia. But this is, again, another defensive tackle that you see a lot of people like Bo Davis trying to ramp up and get in heavy pursuit for. Wide receiver Jaden Greathouse, who is currently committed to Notre Dame. Now, this is Colton Vasek's teammate. He goes to Austin Westlake. And as I said yesterday in my last video, if you are Texas, you have to start locking down Austin Westlake. You cannot allow the likes of Oklahoma or an Alabama or Clemson or Georgia or Notre Dame to be able to come in and take guys out of Austin Westlake. You need to be able to lock up your backyard. And I would say the same thing for Oklahoma with Norman North, any Oklahoma City school, any Edmond school, pretty much the whole state of Oklahoma. You have to lock that down between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. If you're Texas, you cannot let your talent leave Austin Westlake and go to another school, especially your rival. So then we got the 4-star linebacker, Liona Lefau. He's from Hawaii, and this has been a dogfight between Oregon and Tennessee for the Horns, right? Now, he is set to make an unofficial visit to Austin this weekend, but listen, I think that this is going to be an easy recruitment for Texas, especially like with Anthony Hill, because there is an immediate need at the linebacker position for Texas. And so if you're an incoming 2023 linebacker, you know that you're probably going to have a good chance to get some good starting time. And this is something that I think is going to be heavily emphasized by Jeff, I think his last name's Chote, and the defensive staff over there at Texas with these linebackers, and especially with Anthony Hill. Additionally, you've got Derek Hunter, the JUCO defensive lineman from Raymond, Mississippi at Hoons Community College. There are a couple other people interested in this commitment as well, including Arkansas and some other people. He originally was with the 2019 class of Texas A&M before he transferred out. He just recently visited Tennessee. So we'll kind of see how those JUCO offers kind of start to come. We're just now kind of getting into it, so I'm not really going to get into a lot of those. You guys do have some huge 2024 recruits coming in, but, we could talk about that on next week after your guys' game against TCU. Listen, the Horns have a great opportunity here I don't think they're going to land the number one class, but you guys could definitely land a top 3. Right now, from what I have predicted, from what I think is going to happen, right, and giving you guys Anthony Hill, Deandre Moore, Markis Deal, Colton Vasek, Mikael Harrison-Pilot, Jelani McDonald, Tadarius Collins, and those guys. Listen, I think Texas could end up anywhere between 305 to 310 in the recruiting rankings. Right now, Alabama is currently sitting at a 310, where I still think they're in prime position to land at least 2 or 3 more 5-stars, definitely to get a couple more 4-star guys. So Alabama is definitely going to land probably the number one recruiting class. But I guess the real question is Texas going to be able to come in there and beat out Georgia? Now, Texas is currently ranked number 7. They are behind Oklahoma. Oklahoma, though, has not lost Colton Vasek yet, so therefore he's still in their composite score rankings. If you take out Colton Vasek, Oklahoma is sitting at number 9. Texas would be sitting at number 6. You guys would be right below Ohio State. As far as what I think is going to happen with Toviano and Desmond Ricks, I think they both end up at LSU. I think Texas loses out on the Toviano sweepstakes. Listen, Sark could take probably up to 30 recruits in this class. The same thing that Brenton Venables is trying to do at Oklahoma. 30 recruits is a good number, especially if you're Brenton Venables or Steve Sarkisian and you're trying to rebuild a program to be at a national status. I cannot emphasize the importance of this game for Texas once again. It's especially important for TCU because you feel like they have to be able to win out to be able to get into the college football playoffs, especially with the playoff committee already doubting them. But for Texas, you cannot afford to go into another season with the previous season have lost 5 or 6 games. And listen, I definitely think that Texas could potentially have that happen to them this year. We have seen a Texas team who last week almost and could have lost to Kansas State. I mean, when you realistically look at it, Texas has not been a great second half team. And I know you guys are going to point to that Oklahoma game because I'm an Oklahoma fan and say 49-0. But as a Texas fan, I want you to ask yourself this question, and please hop down in the comments and answer this for me. Can you realistically say you would have won 49-0 if Dillon Gabriel was playing in that game? Your secondary has not been the best this year. And Oklahoma has just as much talent as you guys do at the wide receiving. Now, have Dillon Gabriel and the wide receiving core been completely on point this year? No. Have they played their best? No. There's a reason why Oklahoma has 4 losses and Texas has 3. The difference is Oklahoma did not have their starting quarterback in that game. And in turn, they lost at 49-0, the worst Red River Showdown loss ever. Outside of that, I don't even think Texas really played their best game in that game. You had so much room and margin for error in that game that I think if Oklahoma's healthier, Yeah, Texas probably still comes out and wins that game, but it looks a lot closer. And then you look at the next week. You guys should have lost to Iowa State at home. Realistically, you should have lost to Iowa State at home. You got lucky with the refs, but hey, that's how college football's played. I'm not going to sit here and say that Texas got lucky. I mean, we know they did, but I'm not. Listen, I guess I'm totally contradicting myself there. Texas should have lost that game, 24-21. But you guys came out victorious. It's a win on your scoreboard. You guys lost to Oklahoma State. Poor second half performance. Poor second half performance against Kansas State. You almost let them come back. Kansas State almost won that game. You play TCU. If you have a poor second half performance this week, and you can't have a poor second half performance against TCU. TCU is, statistically, their offense is firing at all cylinders. They have a quarterback in Max Duggan that is tenured. He's seniored. He knows how to play. 24 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Against, again, a Texas secondary that's not that good, and I don't think the Texas secondary is going to be able to make him make very many mistakes. Ultimately, the biggest key here for Texas in this game tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, on Saturday, is to keep Quinn Ewers healthy. You guys have only allowed 2 sacks on Quinn Ewers. Your offensive line this season is playing tremendously well. A lot better than what I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to lie. I was walking into that Red River game thinking, oh my God, the Oklahoma defense is going to tear up the Texas offense. Well, I was wrong. And I've been wrong all season because the Alabama defense couldn't even really apply pressure like that outside of really just a couple drives. It's important you protect Quinn Ewers. TCU, not saying they're doing this on purpose, has knocked out all of the Big 12 quarterbacks except for JT Daniels at West Virginia. Every single one they've played, they've been knocked out of the game. Not saying they're doing anything intentional there, but it's something that Texas has to be aware of. Texas has to protect Quinn Ewers. You have to give Quinn Ewers time. Xavier Worthy has to get open. It's important. It's important that Texas gets this game. And then, if you win this game, you have to go to a Lawrence, Kansas that is going to be sold out. Quinn Ewers is going to have to go on the road and maybe play his best game of the season. He's going to play in probably the toughest crowd he's played in all season. And let me explain to you why. Because you're going to say, hey, well, we went to Manhattan and we went to Oklahoma State and we went to the Red River Showdown. Correct. But Kansas knows that they have your number. I feel like any of you Texas fans that are watching this will agree with me on that. Kansas has had your number over the past couple of years, and they know it. And you know it. If Quinn Ewers does not go in there and he does not play his best game, if you guys cannot go in there and shut Kansas down early, that's a trouble game for you. You do not want to lose to Kansas this year. You do not want to give Kansas that momentum over you. And then you got to come home and play a really, really good Baylor team. How's that going to turn out? How are you guys going to be able to play a Baylor defense that is elite? Like, Dave Aranda is one of the best defensive coaches in college football. He's going to be able to scheme against Steve Sarkisian really well. The good news is, if you're Texas, you've got a good offensive line. You've got Gary Patterson as your defensive coordinator. 2 improvements this season you didn't have last season. 2 things that have plagued Texas over the past couple of years. If you're Texas and you see that your offensive line is getting better, if you're Texas, you see that you guys are recruiting the linebackers, you guys are recruiting the edge rushers, you feel good about how the projection for Texas is going. You're bowl eligible this year. You're going to make a bowl. So what does that mean? Even if you lose the next 3 games. At least you get an extra month of practice at the end. That's where Oklahoma's trying to get now. Get to a bowl game so that at the end of the year, you can have that extra month of practice. Hey, maybe OU and Texas, if Texas goes 6-6, can go to a bowl game together. We can play each other. We can have a rematch number dos. But hey, I just wanted to give you guys some recruiting updates on Texas. Show you Texas fans a little bit of love. As an OU fan, Texas still sucks. They really do. Texas still sucks. But I got to give you guys your love. I got to show you guys what I think about your guys' recruiting class and what I think about your guys' season and how important this week is for you. I want Texas to be good again because I want that rivalry to mean something. Just like you should want OU to be good. Now, they can be good and you can still say they suck. Because if you beat us or we beat you and you're good or we're good, you still, the other side still sucks. But we should want our rival to be good so that when we go in to play those games, it is hey, 2 top 10 teams going up against each other. This rivalry means a lot. There's a lot on the line here. They're playing the Big 12 championship. They're playing for all of the cards. You want OU and Texas to be running the Big 12 before they go to the SEC. You want to reestablish that dominance before we have to go and try to take that dominance from Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. Hey, we'll see how this season's going to end for Texas. But you guys, again, you have a big recruiting weekend ahead of you. You've got a big weekend just playing TCU. Texas fans, if you're going to the game, hop down in the comments. Let me know. Enjoy it. Enjoy game day. I think it's something I've only got to experience once in Norman. I've got to experience the big noon kickoffs, but as far as game days, I think I've only got to experience it once. So enjoy it. Have fun. Don't be delusional on the socials. Don't be delusional. And don't roast me too hard in the comments. But hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Even though I'm an OU fan, I appreciate it. Please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think, and we will catch you guys later.